Hey everybody, this PowerPoint is about literal equations, and we're going to start by converting the slope-intercept form. So if you remember from 8th grade, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, hence why it's called slope-intercept form. Okay, so what we're going to have is we're going to have an equation that's not where y is alone. Okay, so our entire goal is to get y by itself. That way, it's in this format so we can easily say what's the slope and what's the y-intercept. All right. So on this slide, I'm going to do two examples. So for the first example, notice the big hint, get the y alone. Okay, that's what you were trying to do. So my first step is I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this over to the side. So 3x minus 2y equals negative 16. Okay? Now, you're going to take the same steps that you have been when you were solving before when there were less variables. Okay? Now, every time you do this, there are two steps. Okay? The first step is to get rid of the x. Okay? So keep that in your head. First step, get rid of the x, okay? Because y is not going to move. This y is going to stay right where it is, okay? We're not moving that y. So I get rid of 3x, not by dividing, but by subtracting. I subtract 3x. All right, because 3x minus 3x is 0, and I want 0. So I bring down the negative 2y. Okay, negative 2y equals, okay, and on the right, I have negative 16 minus 3x. Those are not like terms. One has an x, one doesn't. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to write them next to each other, negative 3x minus 16. Now, I usually write the x first just because that's how slope-intercept form looks. The x is first, and it just makes it easier that way. So the next thing I'm going to do is the second step, which is to get rid of the number touching y, okay, which is that negative 2. So what I do is I divide by negative 2 to everything. So notice I wrote negative 2 3 times. So I divide each term by negative 2, okay? So the negative 2 is gone. The y is finally alone, which is what I want. I want the y alone. And now I divide each of these things by negative 2. So remember, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and I can't simplify 3 halves. Okay, so I just leave it as 3 over 2. Remember, with slope, you prefer to have a fraction versus a decimal. Negative 16 divided by negative 2 is a positive, right? Negative divided by negative, positive, 8. And I am done. I get to circle it. Done. Good? All right, for the next slide, we're going to look at other types of literal equations, okay? And so I'm going to do number 1, and I'm going to do number 3, okay? So for number 1, it says solve for L. When it says solve for L, that means get L by itself. So on the last slide, we got y by itself. Okay, for this one, it's going to tell us which one needs to be by itself. So for number 1, L on its own. So let's rearrange. So we have V equals length times width times height. All right. Let's do some solving. Okay, so first we have to look at what's going on with L, W, and H. Okay, what operation? And so the operation that's going on is multiplying. So remember, if you're solving, if you're rearranging, you have to do the inverse operation. So I have to do the opposite of multiply, which is divide. Okay, so I'll go ahead and draw my divide bar. All right, so I want L to stay. So I need to get rid of W and H. So I'm going to just divide by both W and H, right? So on the left side, I have to do the same thing because that's how equations work. You have to keep them balanced. The W's cancel, the H's cancel on the right, And on the left side, I am left with V over WH equals L. Now, I left it like this because I can't simplify it, because I don't know what V is, I don't know what W is, I don't know what H is. So I just have to leave it just as it is. All right, and that's my answer for number 1. For number 3, as I erase this, this one is a tougher version of it. That's why I skipped number 2, because I only wanted to do 2 on here. I didn't want to make a video too long. So for this one, it says solve for W. I want to get W by itself. So I have A equals 2 times L plus W. Okay? So you have 2 options on how you can solve this. You can distribute the 2 first, or you can divide by 2. All right, knowing you guys, you're used to distributing first. So we're going to distribute 2. So we're going to get A equals 2L plus 2W. All right, no problem there. So remember, this W is going to stay right where it is. Okay, it's not going anywhere. So I have to first concentrate on what's not touching the W, just like the slide before this one. So I look at 2L. All right, I want to get rid of 2L, so I'm going to subtract 2L from both sides. All right, goodbye 2L. A minus 2L, not like terms, so I write them next to each other. A minus 2L, just like that. Okay, bring down 2W. All right, for my next trick, I am going to get rid of this 2, because remember, the W is staying put. So to get rid of the 2, I divide by 2 to everything. Okay, so I end up with W equals, all right, negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. I don't have to write 1, so it's just negative L. And A divided by 2, that can't simplify, so it's just A over 2. And I am done. No like terms, nothing else to simplify. Done. Check.